Oh, hi there, guys. So today I want to talk about the news that a key plank of the government's welfare reform bill has been described as a mess by DWP officials. But before I get into the story, I'd be extremely grateful if you could subscribe for daily news and political analysis. Just helps me to grow the channel. So thanks a lot. So if you recall, every time a government minister goes onto the TV or on the airwaves, they keep saying that they're going to make sure that that these changes to PIP and to universal credit are not going to affect people because we're going to help people into work. We're going to make sure that they can get on and they can find employment. So the reality is obviously quite different. So let's have a read of what's being said here in the BBC on the BBC website. So it says, government plans to speed up employment support for people affected by the changes to welfare benefits will be undeliverable, the BBC has been told. As part of the U-turn and welfare reforms, ministers are expected to fast-track a £1 billion support plan to get people into work, which was originally scheduled for 2029. But officials at the DWP said the system was a mess and that there were only a handful of people working on the programme. The DWP didn't address the claims made by the officials, but said it had taken decisive action and was committed to driving up employment and opportunity across the country. But a senior benefits official told the BBC the government did not have a properly considered or deliverable programme. There hasn't been enough pace or passion to get the thing set up, they said. So continuing, they said estimates within the DWP for the number of people who will get a job are said to be very low. And excuse the language here, they are notoriously difficult people to get into work because in many cases they've been out of the job market for a while and employers are not willing to take a chance on them, said a senior official. So contrast that then with this statement here from the government. The government statement said its once in a generation package of employment support would guarantee that disabled people and those with health conditions on out of work benefits will be able to access tailored work, health and skills support through new and existing programmes. So there's obviously a huge mismatch there between what the government are saying and then what insiders at the DWP are saying. In terms of analysis of this, this goes to the heart of how the government in the UK operates and how policy seems to be developed in this country. So in this instance, the new Labour government, they want to press ahead with their reform to the benefits system. And they're doing that not to help people or ensure that people's needs are met, but because they want to tick an arbitrary box on a spreadsheet at the Treasury. But then rather than getting all their ducks in a row, doing their impact assessments, ensuring that the system for helping people into work is set up first, most of which they could have done in opposition, by the way, they choose to implement the policy and then just pray that what they've done doesn't get any scrutiny or attention. It's only the sick, the poor and the disabled, some of the least visible people in our society. So I'd imagine that their calculation, this is the government's calculation, is that there won't be too much noise about this. We can just plough on. And to be fair to them, that approach usually works when it comes to vulnerable people because, as I said, they haven't got a voice. And that's to say nothing of the fact that PIP is it's not an in-work benefit. You can get PIP whether you're in work or out of work. So, the whole premise of their argument just makes no sense at all, really. And I suppose we can trace this all the way back to Thatcher, or maybe even before then. Thatcher said, we're going to remodel our society to focus on the financial sector. We're going to close all the heavy industry, the mines. But I wonder, did anyone stop and say, Margaret, what are all those people in the mines going to do? And I wonder whether she said, it's not my problem. We'll leave it to the market. I'm sure they'll be fine. That sort of carelessness and callousness that exists at the heart of our state has been there for a very long time, 40 years plus. And this policy from Labour, it just goes to prove that it's not going to change anytime soon. So thanks a lot, guys. See you next time.